Welcome back to the Gruber Morning Show. I'm Pete Gruber, and this is my co-host Richard Beach.
Good morning.
And this is where we cover all things EV, developing trends, and cool tidbits of news. First thing I wanted to share with everyone was the first half of this year. It looks like Tesla is dominating the top luxury car sales. Last year, the first half of the year, BMW dominated with 180,000 units sold. Lexus was next, 164,000. Mercedes had 155,000, and Audi with 124,000. This year, it looks like Tesla, oh, by the way, Tesla last year was at 142,000, so it was below the first four. This year, Tesla dominated with 228,000 vehicles registered. Now, the reason I say registered, apparently Tesla does not publish sales data, so people watch the registrations. 228,000 cars registered. BMW sold 157,000, Lexus 133, and Mercedes 133. So it looks like Tesla is definitely taking the lead at this point in time.
It does, and it's a clear indication of where things are going in the market.
Yeah.
It's no surprise to me after the recent release of these numbers that BMW, Lexus, Mercedes, and all other major manufacturers are really stepping on the gas pedal, so to speak, with producing EVs.
The percentage increase, by the way, that Tesla saw first half of this year was a whopping 61%. Beating out, of course, all these other manufacturers.
Number one, Tesla at 228, and the closest second is BMW with 157. So that's a huge margin there.
So it looks like electric vehicles are definitely gaining ground. I want to welcome also our TikTok viewers. We're streaming there as well. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to post them, and we will entertain them as they come along.
Absolutely.
So the rise in electric vehicle production, Tesla currently holds a whopping 68% market share in this emerging industry based on these numbers released the first half of this year. I don't know if you guys have any Tesla stock, but boy, that sure would be a great investment, wouldn't it? And this growth, of course, is not expected to abate or to diminish. It looks like the momentum and the trend is clearly on the uptick for electric vehicles.
So Robbie DeGraff, who is Auto Pacific's industry analyst, had this to say about it. He said Tesla's growth is expected, but what's more exciting to see is the fiery jump in sales for legacy automakers that have introduced new EVs onto this scene only recently. So again, sign of the times, sign of the momentum of where things are going. If anybody was confused before, there are numbers now to prove that this is where we're going.
And despite the continuous fear that Tesla was going to lose market share because all these other players are coming into the market, it looks like Tesla is so far down the field that no one's really able to catch up at this point in time.
100%, and they're the standard at this point. They're the ones who really kicked this off, and they've had the equivalent of a 10-second head start on a 40-meter dash.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
All right, let's take a look at what we have here.
So let's look at the top 10 EV models for a moment. And this is another surprise. And that's based on the first half of this year so far. Guess which one was number one? The Tesla Model Y. The Tesla Model 3 was second. By the way, the numbers are 103,000 Tesla Model Ys sold first half of this year, 97,000 Model 3s, and then finally we get another player coming into the picture, which is Ford with their Mach-E Mustang. But the fourth one now is a Tesla Model S at 15,000. Oh, by the way, the Ford statistic was 18,000 sold first half of this year. Tesla Model S, which is really a waning product for Tesla, with the 3 and the Y really beginning to take the limelight, were 15,000 sales, and the Model X at 13,000. And then we've got a bunch of others coming into the picture. The Hyundai Ioniq 5, 13,000. The Kia EVs, 12,000. Nissan Leaf, almost 8,000. Kia Niro, 7,000. And the Polestar, too, at 4,800.
Pete, as the other manufacturers begin to increase in numbers of production, what have you noticed around in the streets of Phoenix? What EVs have you noticed the most besides Tesla? I mean, they're on every corner, right?
Yeah.
You can't go 10 feet without seeing one.
You know, part of it may be that I don't recognize the brands.
Okay.
But it was the same thing with Tesla until I started driving them and became familiar with them. It seemed like overnight I saw them everywhere. So I'm not a great one to make that comparison, but I think on any given day, Tesla definitely dominates because of the number of years that they've been placing EVs on the roads, and you know, there's a cumulative effect there.
That brings up a good point too. Tesla it's clear when you see one. You know you see a Tesla.
Right.
You know, and when you look at when you see a Kia driving down the street, it could be an EV, it could not be an EV. You don't really know what's under the hood unless you get over there and pop it. You know, but a Tesla, you know it from a mile away.
You know, many years ago, 3 years ago actually, my son and I were invited to Tesla Fremont for a procurement meeting, and we flew into the airport and then drove over to Fremont, and we were astonished because on every street corner, on every every light, waiting for lights, you saw Teslas, mostly Model S's back then. But the number of Teslas in that region was nothing like we've ever seen before.
It really is amazing. I still remember the first time I saw one. I was walking to Target. I had to be 14 or 15, I think. And I came up to one of those little curbs to wait for a car to pass, not knowing what it was, and it was making no sound. And I was just looking at it, and all I heard was the tires going.
Yeah.
And it's really great to see them so common now.
You know, I remember the day when you didn't see Model S's on the road, and if you saw a Tesla, it was a Roadster. Here locally, I think we had around 43 or so registered in the state of Arizona, and occasionally you would see one on the road. It was pretty exciting. Yeah. Any of you, by the way, that have questions, please post them, and we'll entertain them as they come along. So, got an interesting one here. Elon apparently is changing or thinking about changing his daily routine, beginning with the moment that he wakes up. In a recent interview with Full Send podcast, Musk said he checks his phone first thing in the morning, and he thinks it could be detrimental to his health. And he feels that other people may have the same disease. He calls it a terrible habit, actually. He spends about 30 minutes of every day checking emails, he says, and he now wants to replace that habit with a workout.
Nice.
And take care of the body. He says, I need to work out and be in better shape. This was on the Full Send podcast. So he's going to switch immediately from looking at his phone as soon as he wakes up to doing a 20-minute workout, and then he'll look at his phone. The statistics are apparently that Musk is not far from an anomaly. Roughly 80% of smartphone users check their phones within the first 15 minutes of waking up, according to findings from IDC research. And the replacement routine is likely much healthier. Research indicates that bright and early workouts may improve productivity. And in 2019, a study published by the British Journal of Sports Medicine found that daily, moderate morning exercise improved participants' short-term memory, attentiveness, and decision-making.
Absolutely, and I mean, I can attest to that. Getting up at 4 throughout my high school career, getting up at 4, being at the gym at 5, I'd never felt better. Getting up and doing those morning workouts and just really putting the body to work before the mind has started is beneficial. I hope he sticks with it. It'd be great to see him getting into fitness and really driving it home.
I know he's mentioned this before, and he finds the discipline of inculcating exercise into his routines is a difficult one for him. But it definitely has some health benefits.
Real quick, guys,
Yeah.
I just want to let the audience know, if you can also let TikTok know, Richard,
Yeah.
they can find all these articles in the description.
All right. You all can find, and if you want references to these articles, they are going to be in the description on our YouTube channel. If I can go in and edit this live stream here at the end, I will, and I'll post them in TikTok's description as well.
Elon goes on and describes his routine. Apparently, he doesn't go to bed until 3 a.m. in the morning, and then wakes up at 9:30 a.m., and that's when the smartphone activity takes place. He doesn't want to miss anything that happened in the companies while he slept. Running both SpaceX and Tesla, I can imagine, would be full of activity and somewhat stressful, and he probably wants to stay on top of it.
You know, that was my first thought, was somebody who runs these groundbreaking companies where it's still, for the most part, especially SpaceX, it's highly theoretical. There's a lot of unknowns. There's a lot of things that are going on. It'd be anybody's first instinct in the morning to take a look at their phone and figure out what's going on. Where's my baby at? Where's my child at? What's going on with it today?
Just out of curiosity, certainly. One other thing that Elon shared is that there are probably times that he had 8 Diet Cokes a day or something ridiculous, so some caffeine overload. And these days, he says it's probably 1 or 2, but nothing too crazy. My advice to you, Elon, is stay away from the Diet Cokes, fruits and vegetables, natural sweet products, and diet, very important. Anybody that operates at peak efficiency has to put the proper fuel into that machine. I used to race cars, and I wouldn't go to the standard gas station and get pump gas. I would get the high test in order to get maximum performance.
Okay, guys, I got a question back here.
Sure.
We've got a question.
So this one is from Marco on YouTube. It said, did you guys have the chance to check out the new 4680 cell? And if yes, what are your thoughts?
Okay.
Real quick, for TikTok, the question was, have we had a chance to check out the new 4680 cell? And if so, what are our thoughts?
We've got a video that'll be released soon because the concern, of course, is that the structural battery pack using 4680 cells is going to eliminate the ability for independent maintenance and potentially force people to change the entire battery pack if there's a failure inside that pack because you can't get to things very easily. Our answer to that is we've been reverse engineering Tesla products since 2013. And part of the challenge in the independent space is to figure out ways to solve these types of problems. Although on the surface it seems daunting that you can't access the cells, we have other Tesla products that fit that same category, such as the APS unit or the DC to DC converter inside a Tesla Roadster, which is full of potting compound, and you can't get the components unless you literally do an archaeological dig. We're able to do that. It requires some additional labor, but if it was put together by someone, it can be taken apart. It just requires more labor. And we're looking forward to the opportunity of reverse engineering these new structural battery packs and finding ways to service them and reduce costs for customers so they don't have to change an expensive battery pack, but they can get it repaired.
Love that answer.
All right, you guys want to dive into the next article?
Yeah, sure.
All right. So Elon Musk and Twitter.
Yeah. Looks like things are evolving. Do you remember in the last podcast we talked about the close to $7 billion sale of Tesla stock? As a shareholder, I was wondering what was going on with my stock prices because they kept on diving, and there was no bad news, which is typically why a share price will begin to decline. Well, with sales of that magnitude, $7 billion worth of sales, that would explain why there was a downturn, which, by the way, has snapped back very nicely. I think this morning when I woke up, Tesla stock was over $930 again, and it was still going up when I left. Apparently, it's now becoming, people are suspecting that the reason for the sale was to get Elon into a financial position where he may be able to handle any kind of penalties for pulling out of this deal. There is another recent event, which is, of course, the Twitter deal being soured by the fact that there were bots that were listed as subscribers, which really changed the value from someone buying the company because they weren't real people. So one of the things that they're working on now is to subpoena people, ex-employees of Twitter, that may have some knowledge about these bots, because the feeling is that the company was not upfront about the degree of fake accounts within Twitter. So, interviewing ex-employees is Elon's best chance of proving his argument that Twitter had a problem. They knew they had a problem with bots and chose to cover it up. If Elon is successful, Twitter's actions would then be interpreted as fraud, and it would allow Elon to walk away from the deal scot-free without any penalties.
One other thing about this, Pete, I'm trying to find it so I can bring it up for the audience, but Elon put out a poll on Twitter just to the general public, seeing what they thought, and I think it was some crazy percentage said, yeah, it's all bots, basically.
Interesting.
Everybody believes that it's bots. Yeah.
For our TikTok viewers, apparently Elon posted a request from users to get their opinions on the degree of fake accounts within Twitter, and there seemed to be an overwhelming consensus that there are quite a few of those, more than should be, within the subscriber base.
Every social media platform has bots. So if, it's only right for somebody who's about to buy the company to ask what percentage of what's going on is fraud, right?
Sure.
What percentage is, scammers or just empty accounts repeating the same information. And the fact that they didn't provide that is, it's a red flag.
Sure, absolutely. Moving on to a Lucid story. As you know, Lucid has cut their production goals, citing supply chain problems, not necessarily citing quality problems, but that seems to be part of it as well. And like any responsible manufacturer, they are pulling back until they have some of these problems resolved. So the question is, what about the financial backers of Lucid? How do they feel about these changes? And it turns out that the Saudis are very much involved in Lucid, and there is a public PIF fund which owns 60% of Lucid, and they apparently are being patient, and so Lucid is not getting any pressure from investors. In fact, the public statement was the PIF, or Public Investment Fund, have been very supportive, and this was from a quote on Bloomberg TV. When the world reemerges from the pandemic and the supply chain catches up, we'll be ready. The company is on target to deliver cars to customers in Riyadh in the second quarter of next year. Now, the Saudis have also placed an order for 100,000 Lucid electric vehicles over the next decade. And it looks like Lucid will be able to survive this temporary setback. Toyota, not to be left out of the EV game, announced their first electric vehicle. And you know what? I got to go on record here. It's the weirdest name.
Yeah.
The BZ4X. Now, think about all of the other car manufacturers' names for their vehicles. Maybe during the design stages they had a cryptic code like this, but eventually the PR department took over and they started to call the car a Dodge Charger or a Chevy Volt or something that people can link with and relate to. I'm not going to be able to remember a BZ4X name after this podcast if I was pressed to say what is the next Toyota or what's the first Toyota EV vehicle.
Well, along with its strange name, it looks like it was recalled for another strange issue.
Exactly, yes. And that one is far more troubling.
Yes.
You know, for any manufacturer to come out of the chute and then have a problem like this, it's almost a deal breaker. But the bottom line is, in late June, Toyota organized a recall of this BZ4X, its first electric vehicle. And the problem is a wheel could fall off. They were clear this does not affect all copies, but the recall concerns 2,700 BZ4Xs and 2,600 units of its twin, the Subaru Solterra. So from here on out, Toyota has asked customers that are concerned not to drive, or that have these vehicles, not to drive their electric SUV. In order to mitigate the anger that would result from this. I mean, the guy bought a car, you know, he got an electric vehicle, and now he's being told, don't drive it until we sort out some problems.
Your wheels might fall off.
Yeah, that could cause people some heartburn. So Toyota is stepping up to the plate. What they're doing is they're continuing to provide loaner vehicles and store your vehicle at no cost. They're reimbursing your fueling costs incurred while operating the provided loaner vehicle. It looks like they're not offering EVs as replacements if they're asking you to idle your vehicle. They provide you with a total credit of $5,000 towards payments of your loan, lease, or purchase price if the vehicle was paid in full. They're providing additional time for complimentary charging at all EVgo owned, operated public stations nationwide through December 31st of 2024. They're also providing an extension to the vehicle's new warranty during the time that this vehicle is idled, so that you don't get hit with a warranty decline in your vehicle. So although Toyota is really stepping up to the plate, this has to be fairly troubling for them and, of course, the people that bought the car. Now, this isn't, of course, the first time that a EV manufacturer has had major problems. And a GM comes to mind, asking people, you know what, we've had a few cars that have caught on fire, so we're going to suggest that you don't park your car in your garage because your house may burn down. These have to be embarrassing statements for any car manufacturer to make.
Agreed. And I've always had a high opinion of Toyota, and it sounds like they're doing very good at coming around the corner and trying to make this right as best as possible. I can't say that if I bought one of these vehicles and I was excited about this new car and I was excited to be driving an EV for the first time and heard that the wheels might fall off and I have to go shelf it for a little bit, I can't say I'd be happy, but I would be able to recognize that Toyota is doing, above and beyond what other manufacturers might. I think there's consolation there.
Have you forgot the name already?
BZ4
something, 4X? Or, yeah.
BZ4X.
And Pete, I have a question for you.
Sure.
What do you think about these? I'm looking on the website here. For the XLE, the range is 252 miles. Oh, hold on, let me pull this up for the audience. And then for the limited edition, it's 242 miles. What do you think of that range? Shouldn't EVs have more range by now, a decade in, even though I know this is Toyota's first foray into it? Sure.
Well, I mean, 200 miles range, 250, that was 10 years ago when the Tesla Roadster came out. I would say that is definitely not a great range for an EV, especially one that was just produced in this market. I mean, look at Lucid. They've got a 500-mile-plus car. So, yeah, that's not a stellar range. What is encouraging, though, is that these incumbents are getting into the EV space. They may not have the best product when they first launch, but the commitment seems to be there. And it's probably based on survival because if they're watching the statistics, ICE is going away and EVs are taking over. And if they want to stay relevant, they're going to have to come up with an EV product that works, that meets the competition in a number of categories, from price to range to styling. And yeah, I think it'll be an interesting period of disruption.
Agreed.
Do we have any questions from our TikTok users?
Yeah, I'm trying to pull those up now. So I have one question here from Inkspot. I don't know if you. We also have one from Wicked CC. So we have two of them. I don't know if you guys know anything about these cars. I don't know if we've talked about them on the show before, but they want to know, do you have opinions on the Faraday Future? And do you have opinions on, it says Porsches, but I'm assuming he means Porsche's new
Porsche, yeah.
car.
Some of those I'm not familiar with. We'll certainly research them. Faraday Future I'm somewhat familiar with. Those guys came out with a concept car a few years ago that just blew everybody's socks off.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of like that Lotus that they came out with the holes in the sides. It's an EV, 100% EV. There are some cool designs coming out now. And of course, any of these companies are always struggling, looking for funding, trying to continue to survive. We'll definitely report more on some of those companies in future podcasts for you.
And then there seems to be a little debate in our chat here, but we have Zoltan and Sebi. So they're kind of having a little debate about the recyclability of battery tech. And some people seem to think that the tech is moving too fast to really make it recyclable and it's kind of throwaway. And they're also commenting on Tesla making structural packs and making it really not a serviceable thing. I know we've touched on that before, but what do you have to say about that? People that think that the tech is moving too fast to recycle and it's, we're just not keeping up with it.
Well, I don't know the stated reasons for their feeling that tech is moving too fast. I'm not aware of any recycling bottlenecks at this point. In fact, if anything, there are some great companies emerging, including J.B. Strobel's company, which just got a huge round of funding to continue or expand the battery recycling business. I think time will tell. I'm unaware of any kind of current issues.
It's a great question.
We found a company, and I couldn't quite get my head around this name. It's called WiTricity. And it's a combination of apparently Wi-Fi and electricity. But reading a bit more about this company, they are in the wireless charging technology business. They're actually the world leader. And based out of Massachusetts, it's a bunch of MIT people involved, which, by the way, is not a bad place to start a company. I used to work for Digital Equipment Corporation. And the people that founded it, a lot of them were from MIT. It's a great learning institution, definitely cutting edge. Apparently, with this company, WiTricity, Siemens contributed $25 million, so they have a new round of funding. And the basic concept is to get rid of the charge cord for electric vehicles. And this allows a parked vehicle to charge without any direct connection using inductive coupling, comparable to magnetic resonant imaging. So this new capital will allow them to continue to develop the product and even develop V2G, or vehicle-to-grid capabilities, allowing parked vehicles to return power to the power grid. So it's bidirectional.
That is a feat right there.
So the feeling is that this type of new charging capability will be a game changer, inspiring more consumers to choose EVs over traditional combustion engine cars. There's a recent survey they cite that 96% of EV buyers indicated they want wireless charging capabilities in their next EV. And of course, EV ownership in the US at this point is still among the early adopters. You know, to me, it's reminiscent of how quickly the world is changing. It used to be that a telephone was connected with a wire, and you had a handset and you know, push button for dialing. Today, everything is going wireless at a rapid pace. Why not cars? Why not charging? If the technology exists, it seems to be a far more efficient way of doing charging. There's even a, I think we reported on this in one of our videos, there's a country, and I forget where it is now.
Israel.
Israel? Yeah. The car charges while it's driving on the roads. How cool is that?
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's absolutely insane. I love it.
Okay, Pete?
Yeah. We have a question?
Yeah, so a couple of questions here. Let me scroll back through here.
Pete, when we get the question,
All right.
do you mind repeating it for TikTok?
Sure.
Yeah, so you can repeat this for TikTok. Do you want to, this is kind of a little off topic. You want to address the sunglasses? Everybody has questions about sunglasses.
All right.
And I told them in the chat earlier, but I think we have some new people that joined, that
So,
they're prescription. So
the question for our TikTok viewers is, why does Pete Gruber always wear sunglasses indoors? And it has become such a burning issue that we are going to refrain from giving an explanation. We're actually planning on a video that will give all of the details, and I think you'll be surprised. So in the meantime, I'm going to continue to wear sunglasses during our podcasts and video production. And the only thing I'll give you a hint. I don't wear sunglasses at home.
interesting.
There you go.
All right, so we have a couple more questions here. This one is from a little while back, but I think I saw this one on YouTube as well. Somebody is asking, instead of repairing Model S batteries, how about selling the individual modules for around $1,000 each?
The question is, instead of repairing the Tesla Model S batteries, why not sell the individual modules for $1,000 each? Well, a good question. The cost right now is about $1,000 per module, and in an 85 kW pack, for example, there are 16 modules. The problem you run into is that these modules are not plug and play. It's not a simple process of opening a door on the battery pack, sliding in a new pack or a new module, and you're good to go. In the critical power world where we come from, that is very much the design, in that they even have hot swappable capabilities. So if you have an uninterruptible power system in your data center, and you want to upgrade that, for example, to something larger because you added some equipment, you can actually buy power modules which are hot swappable, meaning while the equipment's running, you can plug in another 10 kVA power module or 25 kVA and increase the size of your capacity. And if you want to increase the amount of runtime you have, you simply insert additional battery packs, and those are also hot swappable, so that you can increase the amount of backup time that you have in case of a power outage. Cars have not reached that level of sophistication yet. In fact, in a Tesla Model S, you have a large 1,200-pound battery tub that contains those 16 modules, and it's completely sealed. And in order to get at that module, you have to first of all pull that 1,200 pounds out of the car, put it on a gurney, transport it somewhere so you have a work surface, and then you literally have to do an excavation to take the top lid off of that battery pack, and be very careful you don't do what you do with a sardine can, which is curl it and destroy it. You have to carefully remove it because that lid has to be reused when you close the battery pack back up. That process takes about a day or two to properly do, and then once you're inside, you could replace modules, which is one of the things that we do. So it's not that simple, I guess is what I'm saying, yet. But I think the future is definitely going to be scalable battery packs so that you can quickly change the amount of distance that you can travel. Think of it this way. If you have a 1,200-pound battery pack in your car and you could shave 800 pounds off that pack, what does that do to the performance of the car? Especially your 0 to 60, or if you take it to the quarter-mile drag strip, it would improve your trap time. So scalable battery packs are definitely part of the future, but currently we're still dealing with pretty old, low-tech battery technology.
All right, and so we've got some more stuff here. Let me go back to YouTube here real quick. I'll come back to TikTok in just a second. So we have one from Diaz 300ZX. That's his question. It says, going back to the Ford Focus full electric, I own one and some of my coworkers own the same car. Will you guys be willing to work on it? If it breaks, they're all going to scare. Keep it past the warning. I don't really know. Richard came in after that and said, no, they only do Tesla products. There are too many models to be good at. Is that kind of a good answer to that question, or what would you say to that?
Yeah, let me elaborate a bit, and first of all, rephrase the question for our TikTok viewers. Would we work on a Ford Focus instead of a Tesla, for example? Would we work on other EVs, is the broader question. At this point in time, Gruber Motor Company confines itself to working on just Tesla vehicles. When we first started out, we were repairing things like Priuses, replacing batteries, fixing batteries. We were working on Chevy bolts. What we found is to get really good at something, you have to have a laser sharp focus, and we targeted the highest installed base out there, which happens to be Tesla at that time Roadster, and now Tesla Model S. There will be other shops like us that will specialize in these other vehicle platforms and brands. The market is a bit too new right now for me to be able to identify or refer companies that specialize in these other brands. So for now, we are confining our reverse engineering and repair to Tesla vehicles only.
All right, and you'll, have to rephrase this one for TikTok. Let's see.
We have a TikTok question coming up here.
So we actually have two of them that are pretty good. So this one is from Nomad Bob. It says, what are the fixed income and low income people going to do? How can they afford a used EV?
Good question. How can low income and fixed income people afford an EV? Well, the range of EV costs will continue to grow. There are companies that are currently making a budget EV. We mentioned one in the last podcast, a Chinese company called Candy, KNDI is the stock symbol. You can get into one of those under $20,000, I think $17,000, and that lower price would qualify for tax credits. And I think at one point in time we figured out that you could get one of these EVs for around $10,000, which makes it quite affordable for somebody comparing an ICE vehicle cost versus EVs. The other thing that's going to play into this, as the scale of economies improve in the electric vehicle manufacturing world, EVs will just naturally get less expensive than internal combustion engine vehicles. And another ingredient is, as ICE production begins to decline, their scale of economies aren't going to improve, they're going to decline as well. And the cost of that product will begin to go up and increase. So we have a number of things coming together here, but I think doing some careful research, you may find that you can get an EV for less than an internal combustion engine vehicle today without waiting.
All right, so I'm going to pull up one other one that we had here. Somebody wanted to know, I forget the name, I'm trying to scroll back, but why hasn't anybody put alternators on all the wheels to charge?
Oh, I love this question. This is a good one, TikTok. Why doesn't somebody put alternators on all the wheels and scavenge the energy that's available? Well, the first answer to that is electric vehicles using three-phase AC induction motors have what's called regenerative braking. And they actually do scavenge the braking energy, or when you slow down the vehicle, to recharge the battery. There's a good reason why putting a power generating device onto your wheels does not work, because there is no such thing at this point in time in physics as a device that is 100% efficient or 120% efficient, so that it's generating more than you're putting into it. You could put alternators in on the wheels and you would generate some power, but the amount of drag and power it takes to power those generators is going to outweigh any benefits. In fact, you would lose. So although a noble idea, there's no such thing as N+1 redundancy in physics, and so far we have not yet figured out how to scavenge energy and create more than what we're putting into it.
Not yet.
Not yet, exactly, yeah, yeah. Well, I think Richard has a helicopter he wants to show us.
I've got, so we can absolutely pull that up here. So in Germany, in Bavaria, correct? They released a picture of a helicopter sitting in a charging stall.
A supercharging stall?
Yes,
Okay.
a police helicopter.
Okay.
Now the picture is fake. It was put out by the police department to send out a notification to people that they're aware of ICE vehicles occupying the chargers on purpose to prevent EVs from charging. There have been other incidents, where people in Teslas have had their cars keyed and things like that. It's kind of becoming an increasing occurrence, unfortunately. But the police in Bavaria, at the very least, are starting to turn an eye to it.
To take note of it, sure.
Yeah.
I don't understand the mentality of someone keying an electric vehicle. Tesla seem to suffer from that quite a bit. Of course, envy and jealousy is usually identified as the motivating factor, but I'm not sure why such anger exists.
Agreed. I mean, it's childlike, It's akin to, as a child, your neighbor has a toy that you want, right? And so you're upset about it. You're angry because you don't have that toy, right? At the end of the day, there are much bigger things in this world to occupy yourself with and concern yourself. There's a lot better things to get angry about.
Yeah.
Being a child like that is, it says more about the person doing it than it does about anything else.
And then the blocking of internal combustion engine vehicles.
Hit that top button for me.
All right. Sorry about that for our TikTok viewers. We just had a low battery alert here. Do we have any final questions, Jesse, before we wrap up?
Yeah, so we are coming toward the end here, but we pull this back up here. Mustafa asks, follow-up question, if Tesla replaces the battery, will they give back the replaced batteries? So I think that's like a core question.
Core question, yeah. So the question is, if Tesla replaces your battery and you buy a new battery, will they let you keep the old one? And the answer to that is no. Tesla does recycle their batteries. In some cases, they offer them as remanufactured batteries with some warranty. So there's a core exchange that's in place.
Do you think that they're going to be doing that with the new structural packs?
Without a doubt, yeah. There are very few instances where Tesla has let a customer keep the part that was taken out of a EV or one of their vehicles. And it's usually something small. I remember many years ago, they changed the fans on my Tesla Roadster before we had Gruber Motor Company, by the way, about a year before. And I asked for the fans, being an engineer and being curious, and they actually let me take them. There's no core value for a product like that. So you can certainly ask, but I can't imagine they would let you have a 1,200-pound battery pack. Any other questions?
Yeah.
One more
So we
question.
have one more that came in on TikTok from Inkspot. Says, will the future of EVs be not owning by individuals, but rather like an electric scooter or bike where there's one on every corner where you kind of just rent it, I think is what he means.
Sure. So the question is, will it continue to be vehicle ownership, or will it be more geared toward lease, or even transportation changing to something smaller such as scooters and e-bikes? And, as markets open up, that generally drives and answers questions like this. At this point in time, I think our expectation is that we're able to get inside a vehicle in a cabin, environmentally controlled, and take control of that vehicle. I can only imagine that over the next few decades, the notion of actually piloting a 5,000-pound projectile on public roadways will become something of the past. It's not safe. People are distracted. Computers are far better at moving things that large around, and you may not even need anything that large. So I think the movement or people moving business will change drastically, and I doubt we're going to be able to have our hands on a steering wheel come in the future decades. Question?
Okay, and one last one. This one's from Richard, and then on YouTube, and then you can close it out.
Okay.
He wants to know, are you guys open for tours? I live nearby.
Oh, good question. Yeah, are we open for tours is the question. And we actually give tours daily. Some days we have multiple tours. But yes, very much so. I'm a firm believer in allowing people to see what we're doing. And at some point in time, if we get into any sensitive research and development and have customers that require us to maintain confidentiality, that may no longer be the case. But for now, we're very proud of our Gruber Motor Company EV shop. And we love it when people come through and we're able to explain to them how we repair things, how the cars are built, what's inside, what the design challenges are. And so anyway, the answer is yes. Please contact us, and we will set up a tour for you and take you through and show you exactly what we do.
All right, and so Pete, if you want to go ahead and let TikTok know, we're signing off. Let them know that we will be back on Thursday morning, and then also tomorrow we have another Roadster Gallery video coming out.
Okay, very good. TikTok viewers, we'll be back Thursday morning with another podcast. We have another Roadster Gallery video coming out tomorrow, and we are doing these podcasts every Tuesday and Thursday. I would like to thank everyone for joining us. It's fun for us. I hope it's fun for you, and we'll see you next time.
Pleasure as always. See you next time.